Argyle is now entering a skill challenge. The first check that he is making is a stealth check to move through the dim, avoiding making sounds or drawing attention to himself. He gets a 13. Success. Argyle ascended the staircases up to the 4th story. He is now making a perception check to keep on the lookout for people that might notice him, and he's also trying to locate where that locked door is at. 24. Success. The interior of the tenement was mostly quiet, but here and there he could hear someone coughing or people shouting at each other or a baby crying. At last he came to the final hallway. Quietly he made his way to the old door. He was quite confident that he'd been spotted by no one except the drunks at the entrance, and that he had made very little noise as he crept about. As he looked at the rusted metal keyhole, he wished that he would have made enough gold to purchase a set of thieves' tools. He drew his dagger and a piece of wire that he kept on him. He's making a thievery check. He gets a 28. Definitely a success. On his first try, Argyle was able to pick the lock. He is now making a stealth check to avoid making sounds as he opens this old door and as he moves up the creaking wooden stairs on the other side. 23. Much success. Quiet as he could be, Argyle opened the door and he moved in and shut it behind him. He lit his lantern and saw a narrow, dusty, cobwebbed staircase. He ascended the creaky steps, making only slight sounds. When he reached the top, he wiped off his head and his arms, and he looked about the room. It was an attic that obviously had not been used in some time. It was filled with broken boards and assorted junk, and like the stair, was covered in dust and cobwebs. Argyle's making a perception check just to kind of look around here. He gets a 17. Argyle moved through the room, examining the floor and the sloppily stored items. It was obvious that the attic was home to spiders, moths, cockroaches, mice, probably rats as well. He spotted faint footprints in the dust and guessed that they were months old. There was a multitude of things piled throughout the room, most of which appeared to be junk, discarded building supplies and broken apartment furnishings. It would take a great deal of time to search through it all, and whenever he moved something, it sent up a cloud of dust. After sneezing a couple of times, Argyle decided he would do a more thorough search later. Dirty and dingy as it was, this looked to have the makings of a suitable hideout. On one of the attic walls, Argyle spotted some wooden shutters. He made his way over to them, flipped the old latch, and opened them. The cold, damp air of the autumn night immediately met him. The view from the small window was mostly blocked. He could see other tall tenements, rooftops, and clotheslines. Tomorrow, I'll start sorting this place out. Figure out where to set up a hidden corner to sleep in, an escape method via this window. Maybe I'll even find something of value amongst all this junk. Argyle closed the window. He then went back down the stairs. He saw that the keyhole was only on the outside of the door. Oh, what are the chances that one of the building workers will need to come up here in the next day or two? Argyle brushed the worries from his tired mind, crept back up the stairs, and began settling down. He curled up on a pile of dusty, moth-eaten sheets, wrapped his jacket tightly around him, and lowered the flame on his lantern. There, the cold, lonely attic, Argyle drifted off to sleep. Argyle awoke, feeling a sense of dread, a gravely uneasy presence. Ugh, that dream. I must have had it again. Argyle trembled, trying to understand why this same dream haunted him. In the dim, he He could see his breath forming small white clouds in the air. It was very cold in the room, and he realized his shivers weren't just from the disturbing dream. There was a sudden heavy thump. Argyle reached over to his lantern and raised the flame. Yellowish light glowed upon the dim of the attic, casting deep shadows. Argyle sat up and looked around. A minute later, there was another thump. He saw a pile of planks and old stained wallpaper shudder. Something underneath the pile of dusty junk had moved. Again it thumped, a heavy and dull thump. Argyle stood up, picking up his lantern. He drew his dagger and stared ahead where he'd seen the movement. There was a sound, something light and airy, but muffled. He strained to listen, and before he could make it out, it was gone. Rats. It's probably rats. Argyle tried to keep himself calm, but he wasn't sure what to expect. A minute of silence passed. Well, I can't just go back to sleep with something thumping around in here. He took in a breath of the chilling air and stepped forward. He reached the pile of junk he'd seen shake. He sat the lantern on the ground and began carefully pulling away the moldering pieces of lumber, and peeling wallpaper, and sheets of stinking, stained canvas. Beneath the dust-covered refuse was a large, heavy chest, easily 2.5 feet wide. It was made of sturdy wood, trimmed in iron, and set with a padlock. "Hello there?" Argyle pulled his lantern near, began working at the lock. Argyle is making himself a thievery check to get this lock open. It's difficult work. After about a minute, he gets a 26. He works at it for a while, making a number of thievery checks until he gets that one, which is good enough. With a metallic clicking sound, the padlock was foiled. Argyle opened the heavy lid of the chest and angled his lantern. Lying in the chest, crammed and crumpled, was the skeletal corpse of a woman. Protruding from her chest was a wicked-looking dagger with a black gem set into its pommel. Argyle recoiled in shock, nearly dropping his lantern. He gasped as from the shadows of the large chest arose the ghostly figure of a woman. She was an attractive woman wearing a dress that trailed off into spectral mist, a pale ghosted dagger stuck in her chest.